You wake before sunrise because there is no curtain to block the first light. Cold air settles over your skin. Every sound matters. A bird calls from the trees. Insects hum through the grass. Somewhere in the distance, something much larger is moving. For almost all of human history, this was not an adventure. It was simply another morning. Your ancestors opened their eyes in a world where every day depended on knowledge, patience, and cooperation. Compared to that reality, modern life shields you from thousands of invisible challenges your body was originally designed to face. Would you know where to find clean water before thirst became dangerous? The average modern person often imagines that surviving in nature is mostly about strength. Movies celebrate the lone hero who wrestles wild animals, starts fires effortlessly, and always finds food before sunset. Archaeology tells a very different story. Human survival was never built on brute force alone. It depended on memory, observation, communication, and social bonds developed over hundreds of thousands of years. Researchers such as Richard Lee, who spent years studying the Juwanzi people of southern Africa, found that survival relied more on sharing than on individual success. A successful hunter did not simply feed a family. The entire community benefited because tomorrow someone else might return empty-handed. Could you trust strangers with your next meal? Your first problem would appear within hours. Water. Finding water is not the same as finding safe water. Rivers may carry parasites. Small pools attract dangerous animals. Clear water is not always clean water. Ancient humans learned seasonal patterns that took generations to master. They recognized which plants indicated underground moisture. They knew where rain collected after storms. They remembered hidden springs passed down through stories rather than maps. Your brain today still reacts strongly to thirst because dehydration once became life-threatening very quickly. Every sip required judgment. One mistake could mean severe illness long before antibiotics existed. Next comes food. And this is where many survival fantasies collapse. Your ancestors did not wake each morning expecting meat. Hunting large animals was difficult, dangerous, and unpredictable. James Sussman, whose work also focused on hunter-gatherer societies, describes lives centered around flexibility rather than constant hunting. On many days, most calories came from roots, nuts, berries, fruits, seeds, insects, and edible plants. Meat was valuable, but it was only one part of a diverse diet. Could you identify 20 edible plants growing within walking distance of your home today? Even gathering food demanded expertise. Some berries nourish you. Others damage your liver. Certain roots become edible only after hours of preparation. Some seeds require grinding to remove bitter compounds. Children learned these lessons slowly by watching adults over many years. Mistakes during childhood could become fatal. Knowledge itself became one of humanity's greatest survival tools. Then comes fire. Modern people often think lighting a fire is easy because matches and lighters exist everywhere. Without them, the task becomes exhausting. Fire by friction demands dry materials, practice technique, patience, and favorable weather. One afternoon of rain could soak valuable tinder. Strong winds could scatter precious embers. Yet once fire existed, it transformed everything. Food became easier to digest. Cooking broke down tough fibers, allowing your body to absorb more energy. Fire also frightened predators, provided warmth, hardened wooden tools, and extended waking hours after sunset. Some scientists believe cooking played an important role in human evolution because it increased the calories available to growing brains. How many modern conveniences depend on a controlled source of heat without you noticing? Night arrives. Darkness today usually means switching on a light. For your ancestors, darkness completely transformed the landscape. Vision became unreliable. Hearing became essential. Predators such as lions, hyenas, wolves, and leopards often became more active after sunset, depending on where humans lived. Sleeping alone was almost never a good idea. Groups rested together, not only for warmth, but also for protection. Every unfamiliar sound demanded attention. Research by anthropologist Polly Wiesner found that evening conversations among hunter-gatherers often shifted away from practical work and toward storytelling, history, relationships, and spiritual beliefs. Around the fire, information spread across generations. Stories preserved survival knowledge, social rules, and shared identity. Entertainment and education became inseparable. When you enjoy stories today, your brain may still be responding to traditions that protected human communities for thousands of generations. Your feet begin to hurt. Modern shoes hide the reality that ancient humans walked extraordinary distances. Daily movement often exceeded what many office workers complete in an entire week. Walking connected every aspect of life, finding food, collecting water, gathering firewood, visiting neighboring groups, tracking animals, and exploring changing landscapes. Yet surprisingly, archaeological evidence suggests that many hunter-gatherers maintained strong physical health well into adulthood when disease and injury did not intervene. Constant, moderate activity strengthened muscles, bones, and cardiovascular health without requiring scheduled exercise. Exercise was never a separate activity. It was simply life. Then insects arrive. Mosquitoes, flies, ticks, and parasites created endless discomfort and genuine danger. Small wounds easily became infected. A simple cut from sharp stone could develop into a life-threatening condition without modern medicine. Ancient humans experimented with medicinal plants long before written history. Many traditional remedies eventually inspired modern pharmaceuticals because generations had already observed which plants reduced pain, inflammation, or infection. Would you recognize nature's medicine cabinet if every pharmacy disappeared tomorrow? Now imagine caring for children. Human babies are unusually helpless compared with many other mammals. They require years of constant care because human brains continue developing long after birth. This extended childhood allowed young people to absorb enormous amounts of cultural knowledge. Grandparents, siblings, aunts, uncles, and unrelated adults often contributed to raising children. Anthropologists describe humans as cooperative breeders, meaning childcare was shared across the community rather than carried by parents alone. This social system increased survival while allowing knowledge to spread through many teachers instead of only two. Your next challenge is hunting. Forget dramatic chases lasting a few minutes. Tracking requires reading tiny disturbances almost invisible to inexperienced eyes. Broken grass, a fresh footprint, slightly disturbed soil, bent branches, animal droppings that reveal direction, diet, and timing. Indigenous trackers in southern Africa have demonstrated astonishing abilities to reconstruct entire events from subtle clues. These skills emerge after years of observation rather than natural talent. Could you follow a single footprint across rocky ground for several kilometers? Evidence from sites like Blombos Cave in South Africa reveals that humans living roughly 100,000 years ago already created symbolic objects, engraved patterns, and carefully crafted tools. This challenges the old assumption that prehistoric people simply struggled to survive every moment. They also created art, expressed identity, and invested time in beauty. Survival did not eliminate creativity. Instead, creativity became another survival advantage by strengthening communication and social cohesion. Another remarkable archaeological site, Chauvet Cave in France, preserves breathtaking animal paintings dating back more than 30,000 years. The artists observed muscle movement, posture, and behavior with extraordinary accuracy. These were not random drawings. They reflected intimate familiarity with animals sharing the same environment. Looking at these paintings today is almost like seeing the world through prehistoric eyes. Food sharing created another surprising rule. Richard Lee famously described how successful hunters often experienced teasing instead of praise. At first, this seems cruel. In reality, it discouraged arrogance. Pride threatened cooperation. If one hunter believed personal success mattered more than the group, social trust weakened. Humor became a tool for maintaining equality. Ancient societies understood something. Modern psychology increasingly confirms. Healthy communities depend not only on resources, but also on relationships. Your body begins craving sugar. Today, supermarkets satisfy those cravings instantly. In prehistory, sweet foods usually appeared seasonally through ripe fruits or honey. Honey represented one of the richest natural energy sources available, but collecting it often involved climbing dangerous trees while facing aggressive bees. High-calorie foods existed, but obtaining them demanded significant effort. This helps explain why your brain still finds sugar incredibly rewarding. Those ancient survival systems continue influencing modern eating habits, even though food environments have changed dramatically. Weather changes everything. Heat increases dehydration. Cold steals body heat. Rain ruins